142 days ago, the journey was just beginning for two teams who had little idea of what the new year would bring. A roller coaster of a season then ensued, with both sides still standing and with everything still on the table. One side has found their groove and are on a blistering pace toward the postseason. The other has lost it and are desperate to get it back in the nick of time. Tonight, the Desert meets Dallas with intentions to disrupt their momentum. Week 17 of the NFL season is here, and AT&T Stadium is the center of the football world as Cowboys Nation will be rocking in the penultimate game of the regular season and the final home game prior to the playoffs as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys have won 4 straight. Arizona has lost 3 straight. Both teams heading to the postseason, but still plenty to play for here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Welcome into the Star in Frisco, everybody, in the Globe Life studios alongside Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeoman, soon to be joined by Nate Newton, Britt Johnson, and Nick Eatman as well. Guys, it's the Cowboys and the Cardinals. This is a game the Cowboys have had circled on the schedule for quite some time, but before we start previewing this game, we got to see what's at stake for both of these teams through the NFC standings. The Cowboys right now listed as the 2 seed at 11-4, but there is a cluster of teams at 2nd, 3rd, and 4th seeds all tied up, which means the Cowboys, who have a fantastic record inside the NFC, an 8-1 conference record, they are ahead of both the Rams and the Buccaneers. They need the Green Bay Packers to lose one of their final 2 games of the year in order to have a shot at the number 1 seed. So with that being said, the Cowboys and the Cardinals still plenty to play for. Both teams still locked into this NFC playoff picture. But guys, how big of a confidence boost could this be for this Cowboys team with the win today?
This will be huge. This will be huge because it gets you one step closer to getting that number 1 overall seed. Now, I know they don't control their own destiny. Like you said, Cal, they're going to have Green Bay lose a game within these next 2 weeks. But you can only control what you can control. And right now, a win over this Arizona Cardinal team will get you one step closer to home field advantage.
You're absolutely correct. This game is absolutely huge, and the reason why is because these guys are 8-1, as you mentioned, Kyle, 8-1 against their NFC opponents. However, they're only 1-1 in the NFC of teams that are over 500 in terms of their victory percentage. So that is a major thing in terms of as they go into this game. They need to be able to show not only to themselves but also to the coaching staff that these guys are ready for all the other teams that are going to be well over 500.
Yeah, Cowboys coming off of a historic win last week, 56-14 over the Washington football team. But this is really the best test for the Cowboys in quite some time, and they're going to have to do it without a pair of defenders as Quentin Bohanna and Keona Neal each placed on the COVID reserve list. This has really become a weekly deal, not only with the Cowboys, but throughout the NFL as well. But how big of an impact is this going to have? The Cowboys not actually pulling up another linebacker, just rolling with 3 guys at the second level.
Now, this is going to be a huge impact, and COVID has pretty much got ramped up in the NFL these past couple weeks, and it's scary, especially for playoff teams, because you don't know who's going to be in there week in and week out. You could have your starter, you couldn't have your starter, so it's definitely a scary situation. But thankfully for these Cowboys, they're extremely talented and extremely deep. So even though we don't have Keona Neal, we don't have Quentin Bohanna, I still see a solid performance coming from this Dallas defense.
And that should be the case, Barry. But I am concerned at the linebacker position, being that they're not bringing up an additional player. There's one position on this defense that they're a little bit short in terms of depth, and that is the linebacker position. Obviously, with Neal being gone, there's going to be other guys that are going to have to step up in the form of Curse, who's going to have to come down and work his way into the box, and other guys of that nature. But you're going to start seeing that big nickel personnel really start to come to fruition in today's game.
Yeah, you have Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, Luke Gifford. Those are your 3 linebackers. Of course, Jabril Cox hasn't been there quite some time. Francis Bernard also unavailable this week. And now with Neal being placed on that as well, you're going to have to expect maybe a Jaron Kurtz to potentially come up and play that linebacker safety hybrid role?
You can't do that. I mean, he's big enough, he's physical enough to go down there and be in the trenches with those guys. I mean, we've seen him play that box safety role, and against a run, he's been stout, and he's able to blitz after the quarterback as well. So I can definitely see Kurtz getting into that hybrid kind of linebacker safety role with Keona Neal being out.
Yeah, keep an eye on 27 and see him creep down into the box, maybe providing a little extra help at that second level. We get a little extra help each week from AT&T Stadium, where Nick Eatman is on the sideline. It's not just help. This is awesome. One of the best parts of the week as you all bundled up. You don't have to worry about the cold today. I'm sure you're thankful for the roof, Nick.
No doubt about it. Now, I worried about it a little bit on that walk in. It was probably the coldest I can remember. It's just amazing. It's amazing. A week ago, you could have gone with a tank top. I didn't, but you definitely could have. And now, welcome to Texas. That's what happens. But yes, everybody's happy about the fact that the roof is closed, doors are closed. It should be a nice, cozy atmosphere here. And that also means it'll be loud. And I definitely think these Cowboy fans will be ready to go against Arizona.
Those white towels back behind. I'm sure you mentioned the tank top for a reason. I'll let that just gloss over for a split second. But 29 degrees outside prior to kickoff, and it will be in the mid-70s, thank goodness, for the roof at AT&T Stadium. But we just were talking about a couple of the COVID list names, but really this defense completely together outside of maybe Keona Neal at the second level. Do you expect guys like Jayron Kearse and company to maybe mix in and provide some help at that second level?
Yeah, without a doubt, not just Jayron Kearse, but also Donovan Wilson, too. I mean, he's a physical player, but, the way that Arizona plays, they do spread it out. Then it's not that they don't run the ball. Obviously, James Conner has a lot of touchdowns when they get down in that red zone, but they do have a big three receiver set. So, having three linebackers, I'm sure, it would be a problem against other teams. In this case, they'll probably go with a lot of the nickel, big nickel, like you guys referred to. So not just Kearse, but I think Donovan can also slide down inside as well.
Hey, what's going on there, Nick? Happy New Year's to you and yours. But let's talk a little offensive football here. We saw last week that Kellen Moore put a huge emphasis on getting the football to Amari Cooper, and it pretty much opened up the entire offense. Can we see that same type of game plan or same type of formula heading into this game against Arizona?
I think so. I mean, when I go back and think about that New England game, that's the one I always remember when Bill Belichick, what's he going to take away? The run, the pass? He tried to take away Amari Cooper. And that just kind of lets me know, lets a lot of people know, here's one of the greatest coach of all time, what he thinks. He knows that how important Amari Cooper is to the rest of the offense. He's such a great route runner. It's hard to stop him with just one guy. And when he's rolling, then it trickles downhill. So without a doubt, Amari Cooper is the guy you want to get involved. He said it the other day. They said it. They got him involved. And I don't think it was a coincidence that the offense was rolling the way it was.
Nick, good to see you, man. This is Isaiah. Wanted to ask you in terms of what have you seen in preparation for this week defensively on our side, on that side of the ball for us as they get ready to face the most athletic quarterback this league has to offer?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen guys like Tony Pollard even took a few snaps from what it sounded like in some of the preparation scout team stuff. And they don't have anybody on the roster, really. They don't have a lot of guys that are like Kyler Murray just from an athletic standpoint. And so this is going to be a huge a challenge. This is one where I put a lot on DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory. How disciplined are they going to be? Because they're judged usually by one thing, sacks. Pressure as well, but mainly sacks. Are they going to be disciplined enough to keep containment? Because it's easy to go right at the quarterback. There he is. Go get him. He'll do that Jedi spin and get out of it. And then all of a sudden he's broken contained. They're going to have to get interior pressure. Micah Parsons, Gallimore, Tristan Hill, those guys from the push. If they can do that and these guys stay committed on the outside, then I think that you can. And plus, when you got a short quarterback like Kyler Murray, you get in his face, he becomes even shorter. They're going to have to do that, but they got to get disciplined on that outside.
That is a huge thing for this Cowboys team, and it has been over the last couple of weeks a wave of defenders pressuring the quarterback, and they'll try and do that again here in Week 17. There he is, Nick Eatman, out at AT&T Stadium. We'll check back in with Nick later in the show, but let's check in with our fifth member of our Cowboys pregame live crew, Britt Johnson, who has her finger on the pulse of the rest of Cowboys Nation.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Britt Johnson here, and I definitely want to wish you guys a Happy New Year. It is 2022, not 2020 also, but 2022, and we got to check out Twitter. It has been a minute since we checked in with our Twitter family, and the first one, New Year, same tank. D-Law posted it this morning. He also said he was changing his profile picture to it. He is ready to go for this season, if you can't tell by the look of that face. And you know what another face looks like? It's a game time face. This one right here. It is game day, baby. This person said that with that amazing picture of Dak Prescott. Moving on, Jason says, man, I'm in Dallas for my first ever Cowboys game. I can't stop shaking. I'm so damn nervous, bro. I get how you feel as a Cowboys fan. You get a little nervous, you know, especially you think it's your fault if something different happens that hasn't happened before. But our next one, I had a dream last night that Diggs made his 12th interception. That has to mean something, right? Well, hopefully it means you're not jinxing Trayvon Diggs in that matter. Like, hopefully that means something good, right? And of course, this one. Yo, Cowboys Nation, it's game day, baby. Let's put Murray in his place today. Let's keep this momentum going. And we're going to end with this one because we are definitely going to keep this momentum going. What if this is the last New Year you guys have to celebrate before you see the Dallas Cowboys in a Super Bowl? That is from our very own Dave Hellman, who works for the Dallas Cowboys. Again, hopefully he's not jinxing the Dallas Cowboys on this one. But thank you, Twitter, for these awesome tweets today. It is almost game time. Let's get ready to go. Back to you guys.
Cowboys Nation is raring to go right now. I mean, there's a lot of excitement, and for good reason. 11 wins, an NFC East title, of course, now a chance to take on Kyler Murray and a top 10 quarterback for the first time in quite some time. Back here with Nate Newton here for Cowboys Pregame Live. And Nate, it is exciting. This is a big game for the Cowboys.
Oh, definitely. It's a big game to see Kyler Murray, to see Dak have a chance to compete, man. It's going to come down to the final few minutes who can control the game, man. It's just good to see two quarterbacks at the top of their game, one coming up, and that's Kyler Murray, one that's trying to get back consistent, and that's Dak. To see these two guys go and battle at one another is a great thing.
We're going to talk about both of those guys in depth later on in the show. But first, let's take a look at the inactive list. Along with Quentin Bohanna and Keona Neal, who we mentioned are on the COVID reserve list. Here are the inactives for the Dallas Cowboys. Will Grier at the top of that list. And then you've got Israel Mukuamu, Matt Farniok, Fehoko, all three rookies. Maurice Kennedy may be a surprise inactive there as he really filled in last week. Didn't need to see him a whole lot because of Kelvin Joseph in the slot in the absence of Jordan Lewis. But with Lewis being back and Kelvin Joseph maybe earning a couple extra snaps, Kennedy is placed on the inactive list. But probably the biggest news out of this list is there is not a listed name of an offensive tackle, and that offensive tackle's name is Tyron Smith. He is back this week after missing 2 games with an ankle injury. How big is this for this Cowboys offensive line to have their anchor back and ready to go?
The last few weeks, man, we've rushed for over 100 yards, 25 carries over 100 yards. But with this guy coming back, man, we can pick that up a couple of more ticks. We know that Dak's backside is going to be protected. You saw him right now going from side to side, popping guys. When this guy hits somebody, people move, man. We need Tyron back to solidify this thing. And this be the first time all year, correct me if I'm wrong, that the big dogs are barking loud. Yes, sir.
And those big dogs are all 5 of the expected starting offensive linemen heading into the season. There has not been one single game where all 5 have been together. What kind of continuity does that bring from an offensive line standpoint, and how much confidence does that give an offense?
Man, you got a Pro Bowl at the left tackle. You got a Pro Bowl at the right guard. Look at him, man. And the rest of the guys are playing above average. You got something special going. If we can get this run game going, get our play action going, hey, just going into the playoffs make it that much easier.
Zach Martin and Tyron Smith making history with their Pro Bowl selections this year. 7th time they've been selected together on an offensive line. That's the most out of any offensive line duo in the history of the NFL. So they continue that. They're now having all of these guys back. Lyle Collins at right tackle, Tyler Biadasz at center, Connor Williams at left guard. Do you think that this is just the easy answer to some of the offensive struggles that were prior to last week?
Dak can drop back now. Not 3-step, not 5-step. He can sit back there and look around, go to 1, 2, 3, and come back to 1 and make something happen. I'm telling you, this is how we go roll this week, baby. 400 yards, baby, easy.
Wow, how about that? A prediction from Nate Newton on Pregame Live, 400 yards. And it's a good week to have these guys back because Chandler Jones is on the opposite side for the Arizona Cardinals. Here's a look at his career stats. But this year, 9.5 sacks. He leads the Cardinals with 23 quarterback hits. How did the Cowboys offensive line plan to contain Chandler Jones?
With everything you got. Perfect technique, do what you got to do. And when he lines up on you, just concentrate on the snap. Make sure you don't jump. Don't give him no advantages. Play your technique. Know when you got a back coming up. Know when you got a tight end going across the formation. And just handle your business. Stay cool, calm, collective, and everything should be all right.
They're going to have to keep Dak Prescott on his feet. Of course, like you said, with the confidence level that this offense could have with that offensive line. Speaking of Dak Prescott, he had more to say on the challenge that Arizona has presenting this week.
This is a great defense. As as I know and I've been a part of, and I'm sure a lot of guys have, the team works a lot better and the offense gets a lot more credit when the defense is doing the things that they need to do to get you the ball back. So this is a talented defense that has a great multitude of scheme that can give you a bunch of different looks. And as you just said, from up front with the different guys, obviously one of the best pass rushers in the game, Chandler Jones, on the back end, Budda Baker, a guy that's great when he blitzes, a guy that's great in coverage. They're a talented group, so we've got to make sure that we come into this game communicating, make sure that we're all seeing the same thing on the same page, and then therefore be the aggressors and make them play, match our game.
What is this a realistic game statement gave you guys, considering this is a playoff team?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure. This is, you just said, as a playoff team, this is a team that we could see in the we could see next month or so. So you want to make sure that we come out and we play our best ball. This is almost no different than a division opponent that you're playing twice. Sure, we're not guaranteed to play them again, depending on how the tournament seeds out, but it could happen that way. So this is a talented team. I mean, obviously they were the number one seed for a large part of this year, deservingly so, just with the talent, with the scheme, with the coaches they have. And they've got our respect, but we're going to come out there and we're going to be the enforcers and put our best football forward.
So there's quarterback one for the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, speaking on that Arizona Cardinals defense. And Nate, you talked about the battle in which is about to happen between Prescott and Kyler Murray, two of the best young quarterbacks in the game, both of which were in the MVP conversation at one point in time in the season. And they're two of just 7 quarterbacks in the NFL with over 100 passer rating this season. So Isaiah, I'll start with you. Is it as simple as to who plays better today out of these two, Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray?
It's not that simple. And we don't want it to be that simple. Reason being, you don't want all the pressure to sit on Dak's shoulders. We saw what happens, and we know what happens when Dak has a running game that's present. Last week, 30% of the play action passes. 30% of our passes came off of play action. 50% of our touchdowns came off of play action. So we know that we need a running game present, and that takes a lot of stress off of Dak so that he doesn't have to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. Now, on the flip side, if Kyler Murray goes out there and he throws the ball 50 times, that's a good thing. That means that they're playing from behind, and that means that their running game is null and void.
You know, I want to agree with you 100%, Isaiah, but I want this thing to come down to the two quarterbacks, because I think once you start preparing for the playoffs, it's about who's going to have a better quarterback. And I just want to see them in a close game, like 3-0 going into with 2 minutes left. Let's see who get the ball and do the damage. That's what I want to see.
I don't think anybody wants to see that, Nate, at all. I don't think either side wants to see a 3-0 game going into the final minutes. By the way, though, Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns in the first half last week against the Washington football team. Kyler Murray has just 4 touchdown passes through the air in his last 5 games. So first half last week for Dak, last 5 games for Kyler Murray. And this is a Dallas offense that was able to sustain long drives in that game against Washington. 8 for 74 yards, 9 for 71, 12 for 89. You get it. There were long drives against Washington. But a lot of reason for that, Isaiah, was the up-tempo of the offense. Do you see that continuing?
I hope not again. There's another one of those opportunities. I wish they would just slow things down for this particular game. And the reason for that is because of the fact that the defensive superstars for the Arizona Cardinals, they are momentum players at every single level. You got Chandler Jones at the first level. You got Isaiah Simmons at the second level. You got Budda Baker at the third level. All these guys are young, high-intensity guys, and they love it when you play with tempo. It allows for them to go out there and play with reckless abandonment. If you slow things down, and you allow Tyron Smith to go out there and work on Chandler Jones, you allow Martin to work up to the next level and work on Isaiah Simmons. Now all of a sudden you start controlling the tempo of this game. You don't want to go into this like with the same mindset you had against the Washington football team. They're built differently.
I agree 100%. And what you have to do is you have to mix the tempo up. Come out the first 2 series and play it by the numbers. If they kick it to the 25, that's to come out and run it a couple of times. But if you get some type of momentum and then you see where you got them winning, then you pick up the tempo and you play with it. So Coach Kellum and Dak have to be super sensitive to how the game is being played, because I agree with you. They got some young, fast talent out there.
There have been so many good, positive storylines around this Cowboys offense, and of course, Kellen Moore throughout the season. And you kind of talk about the reason for that. And well, these offensive coordinators on both sides for the Cowboys have had a ton of success, and other NFL teams want a part of that success. And let's go hear from Dan Quinn, who has to talk about the job opportunities that may be ahead for him and Kellen Moore into the future.
I think, for me coming here, I wasn't come in here to look what my next job would be. I wanted to come in here and have a blast and hopefully kick ass and, make an impact that we can. And I don't know if you saw me in the press box last night, like I was having a hell of a good time. When you see a guy like DeMarcus score, that's what I love about coaching. So if those moments come, I'll be ready for them if the right scenario came about. But honestly, I'm having a blast being, right here with this crew and going for it. So that's where my mind is. That's where my heart is. I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about down the road of what's next. I just really like being in the moment with the guys. So nothing to report on my end in that space. And like I said, I'm having a blast doing what I'm doing.
So new rules allowing offensive and defensive coordinators and other coaches throughout the NFL to have conversations with other teams about open head coaching vacancies. And Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore both contacted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you just heard it there from Dan Quinn, not going to interview during this 2-week period. So what does that say about, one, the success that the Cowboys have had, that other teams are trying to poach coaches from this Cowboys coaching staff, but also the respect that he has by saying, let's wait on this until the season has come to a close?
Well, we love to hear that from your coach because he's basically focused and locked in game by game on what he has to do for this Cowboys organization. But I'm sure, like you said, Kyle, once a team is great and they're rolling like that, other teams are going to want a piece of that. And right now, Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn are two of the hottest coordinators in the game. So other teams out there, they're going to want a piece of that action.
It's simple as this right here. Coach Quinn has been there, done that, man. He's been to a Super Bowl. Quite sure he want to get back to another to have better success. But he knows the attention that he asked this team to give to him and to believe in him. And he want to let his defense know that he's there for them. Now, the young guy, Callum, hey, man, do your thing, baby. You got it.
How much of a distraction can that be with this being in the final 2 weeks of a run that the Cowboys have been having? Because, you both have been through coaching changes during your tenure in the NFL. From a player standpoint, how much can that affect things?
It can be a huge distraction, especially for a playoff team that's getting ready to go into the playoffs, all minds focused on getting these W's. It can be a huge distraction, but with the culture change that McCarthy has brought to this Dallas Cowboys organization, I can see both of these guys focusing in, locking in, as well as the players on getting the job done and handling the task at hand.
This is the first time this team that's been assembled is going through this situation, so you want to have less these distractions as you can. Veteran team like I was on, winning the way we was winning at that time, it didn't matter, baby. Just lock and load, and we rolled.
You roll in either way, and a lot of it has to do with the personnel that is on the field. And so now let's ask the fun questions. How about this? Who has made the biggest impact in this defensive turnaround this year? Micah Parsons or Dan Quinn? Because both of those guys have had massive impacts. Neither one can be understated, but which one's had the most impact?
Oh, man, this one is a tough one. But to me, as much of a beast as Micah Parsons has been, I got to give the lion's share to Dan Quinn on this one. This guy, and it is because it's not only Parsons that's balling. This entire defense is having career years right now. And to me, a lot of those guys were on this same defense that was historically bad last year that was led by Mike Nolan. And the only variable that's changed has been Dan Quinn. So to me, he's getting the most out of each and every one of his players. And he's the most, I would say, gets the most credit for turning this defense around.
Block. That sound like a chicken because it was the chicken and the egg question. I'm serious.
Did you just balk like a chicken on live air?
I tried to, man.
I didn't know what that was.
You know what? You said the same thing. Quinn wasn't here, or Parsons.
Parsons wasn't here either.
You know what? But I'm going to have to lean with Quinn because he had the eyesight to see this kid is more than just a normal guy. He's a football player. He's like what Madden used to always say, he's a football playing dude. Yeah. So I'm going to give it to Coach Quinn because he had the ability, because I did not want him at defensive end. You did not want him. But guess what? Hey, he can play defensive end, so I'm giving it to Coach, man. Hey, you won on this one, Coach.
It's a thought process around Micah Parsons that it was the perfect fit. It was the Dan Quinn. It was the personnel that was already here with guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. Of course, Trayvon Diggs having a fantastic season. Cowboys are the first team in NFL history with a player with over 10 sacks and over 10 interceptions in a single season. Also, not to mention, they lead the NFL in takeaways and in third down conversion. So I think I'm with you guys. I think I'm going to say Dan Quinn, but Micah Parsons has to have a huge piece of that credit for the defensive turnaround. But how will Kyler Murray challenge this Cowboys front seven? I mean, this is the biggest dual threat quarterback the Cowboys have seen arguably all season long. And if you wanted to bring Jalen Hurts into the conversation since week 3 of the NFL season. So what kind of challenge does he bring to the table for this front seven?
Containing Kyler Murray, I think, will be one of the toughest tasks this defense has gone against the entire year. I mean, because unlike Brady or even a Patrick Mahomes, this guy's escapability is unreal. And, you know, the quarterbacks we played earlier in this season, even if they got out the pocket, even if they escaped, our defensive line was too athletic and they would chase him down from behind. But not this guy. So to me, our defense has got to focus and really lock in on setting edges and keeping this guy in the pocket.
Hey, you got to set a wall defensively, not offensively, but set a wall and come forward as a wall, because if any cracks and any chinks, this dude can escape. But what kills you is this dude is very accurate. I mean, everything he does is to be able to throw that ball. And at the last minute, I saw him last week, man, almost took one to the house, over 60 yards. So he is dangerous. I think only person that could probably run with him is Parsons. So we got to put Parsons deep safety and let him roam all over the place. Deep safety and let him come forward. You know what I'm saying?
He's not only one of the best dual threat running quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks in the NFL today, but of all time, one of 3 quarterbacks to have 60 passing and 20 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. The only 2 others to do that, Cam Newton and Josh Allen. So pretty good company for Kyler Murray. And, of course, we mentioned how he was in the MVP conversation early on. And Micah Parsons, like you said, he may be the one player that could slow him down. Here's his thoughts on trying to contain Kyler Murray.
It's going to be a big challenge for me. I mean, you look at the tape, and, I mean, he's just so explosive, so quick, so fast. Really getting the best of a lot of players this year, so I'm going to really have to be on my A game, come in real focused, and be ready to hunt, you know. So it's going to be a big challenge for me, but it's a challenge I'm excited for.
Is it a different challenge hunting from a pass rush position or maybe as a spot?
Sheesh. I mean, it's all important because we got to find a way to contain them. So whether I'm the spot or somebody else is, we got to make sure all gaps are, you know, filled, so that way we won't give him no breathing room to get outside that pocket and find a way to extend plays, because, I mean, that's what he's good at.
Have you told Dan Quinn you can't leave?
No, I ain't tell Q you can't leave. You know, I just think it's one of those things where, you know, after seeing all the things going around the league, that, you know, people always got to do what's best for them.
So that's Micah Parsons on the challenges that Kyler Murray brings to the table. Back here with Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. And let's take a look at some of the running backs that Arizona brings to the table, along with the ground threat of Kyler Murray. James Conner, over his last 6 games, 26 receptions, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's from a running back. So, of course, he's had a pretty good season so far, but he is not available today, out with a heel injury, and really has not been a part of practice all week long. He was limited on Friday, but that was it for James Conner. Not available. He has been placed on the inactive list. So that leaves Chase Edmonds as you take a look at his season-long numbers as well. How big is it for the Cowboys defense knowing that they don't have to deal with the 2-headed monster in the backfield?
That's huge, because to me, James Conner and Chase Edmonds, they kind of had a thunder and lightning thing going on right there. You know, Conner would go in, soften them up, and then you had Chase Edmonds come in and kind of break the big play. But I go back to my days as a defender. I'd much rather go against a one-cut downhill guy like James Conner, who can, when you're in open field seeking out contact, rather than an extra dynamic guy like Chase Edmonds, who can make you look like a fool in the open field and in the phone booth. So I'm not so sure they can sleep on Chase Edmonds, even though James Conner is out.
Those are very valid points. You have to think about James Conner and Chase Edmonds in the same likelihood as you would Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. That's their duo. That's their 2-headed monster. But now that James Conner is gone, now Chase Edmonds steps into that starter role, and now you have to worry about Eno Benjamin. So now you have 2 guys. Imagine having 2 Tony Pollards on the same squad. One guy goes out, the other one comes in. You have the same issues at hand. Expect these guys to be nice scat backs out the backfield, running routes, lining up at wide receiver, and obviously trying to get outside the pocket.
Edmonds is as versatile as James Conner is, especially in the red zone. Both of those guys used very well from a Cliff Kingsbury offense, and that Arizona offense, of course, having to deal with injuries at the tailback position with James Conner. Even Chase Edmonds has been missing some time in practice as well with a back injury, but he is available. He will be the starting running back, but in speaking of injuries, this wide receiver core has been banged up throughout the year as well. These are the three that are available. No DeAndre Hopkins. Again, he's not expected to return until probably conference championship week, should the Cardinals get into that deep part of the playoffs. But this is what they're working with in terms of the weapons. Of course, Zach Ertz has had a couple big games against the Cowboys in the past. A.J. Green has the skins on the wall throughout his NFL career as we take a look at their season stats. But how dangerous is this passing attack without DeAndre Hopkins as a part?
I don't think it's nowhere near as dangerous without DeAndre Hopkins, but you cannot sleep on their trio of pass catchers. I mean, Zach Ertz is a crafty tight end who can get open versus man or zone, and then the combination of Kirk and Green is basically your deep threat wide receiver and your possession receiver, but they're both as immensely talented. And then you got a guy like Kyler Murray who can make all the throws out there, and this Arizona team can still be extremely dangerous on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, agreed. You got A.J. Green, you have Isabella, you have Christian Kirk, you have Rondale Moore. Those guys are a committee, right? That's the committee. Those guys are going to be coming into today as a committee. However, D-Hop was the entire committee. So they're going to try to figure things out collectively. Look to see these guys get the ball in their hands quick. I mean, obviously early, near the line of scrimmage. These guys are all quick, scat type receivers that can run nice, precise routes. Great at the line of scrimmage. We can't allow these guys to get downfield. We can't allow these guys to get off the ball, but a lot of screenplay is going to be in our future for sure.
The Cardinals, without DeAndre Hopkins at the wide receiver spot, have lost all three of these games since he was injured, and Kyler Murray's passer rating has dropped over 60 points on passes outside the numbers. So really that outside game has not been there for the Arizona Cardinals over the last 3 weeks without Hopkins out there. And Trayvon Diggs, instead of having to take away DeAndre Hopkins, will be lined up with A.J. Green. He leads the NFL in interceptions with 11. He had another pick last week on the first defensive play from scrimmage, the most picks since 1981. So Barry Church, I ask you as the defender, will he break the Cowboys pick record today?
Oh, you put me on the spot. But look, if there's one defender on this Dallas Cowboys team that I will not bet against, it's Trayvon Diggs. And in the past 3 games, Kyler Murray has thrown 3 interceptions. So I'm going to say Diggs gets his 12th interception and finally breaks Everson Wall's season record with 11 here with the Cowboys.
You don't say.
I don't say.
Well, I'm going to be on the other end of the spectrum on that one. I love Trayvon Diggs, and I love what he's presenting for this defense. However, Kyler Murray is all about making memories at AT&T Stadium. And the last memory that he's going to make is making sure that Trayvon Diggs breaks the Cowboys interception rate record. I don't believe that he's going to give him that opportunity. I think that he will tuck the ball and take off for 60 yards like he did last week instead of throwing the ball up in the air for an opportunity for Trayvon to get in the record books.
All right, this sounds like a wager that's happening live on air. Loser brings donuts next week for the noon kickoff against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you've got both sides of the stick here. If Trayvon Diggs gets a pick, that means Isaiah's bringing breakfast next week. So let's have some fun with that. Trayvon Diggs has been having a ton of fun throughout the season so far. 11 picks will help do that, leading the NFL, and pass breakups will also do that as well. But it's not just about the facing good talent and having success against good talent, but it's also about the coaching staff that has been inputting a lot of that teaching throughout the year as well.
They still got a couple pretty good receivers, and they got a good quarterback as well. So, we just got to do our job, and, it'll get done.
How does the unique skill set of Kyler Murray affect you, and what kind of unique challenge does it create that maybe you guys haven't seen much this season?
His ability to extend plays, his ability to run in space. We haven't seen a quarterback as fast as him, and we haven't seen a quarterback with the ability to extend plays like him. So, I feel that's the biggest challenge. But other than that, everything is everything.
A quick follow-up on Al. Having Al Harris in your room, what has that been like to have someone who's played the position for so long be in your ear, and what kind of, I imagine you take more, it's easy to put a lot of faith in what a guy is telling you who's done it before.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna lie, he basically taught me everything that I know as far as be playing corner in the NFL. The technique, just how to read the quarterback and things like that. He taught me basically almost everything. So, I just listen to him because he's been in the position before. He's played the position, so he knows exactly what's going on out there. So, me just taking information from him, picking his brain every day helped me out a lot.
So Trayvon Diggs talking about the impact that Al Harris has had in that secondary. And there's so much talent in that secondary, but also on the Arizona side as well. And it's led by Budda Baker, as he's had a phenomenal career to start coming out of the University of Washington. We know somebody who went to Washington. Right, Isaiah?
Just a little something.
Just a little something, something. But Budda Baker leading the way. Byron Murphy Jr. out in that secondary as well. Jalen Thompson there. I mean, they have multiple pieces on the back end there. So, Barry, I ask you, how does this Dallas offense and these wide receivers match up against the Cardinals secondary?
Well, look, I know Budda Baker is a stud out there. He is a beast, but he is only one man. We're out there with a trio of wide receivers. And I feel like if Dak Prescott is able to spread the wealth around to Cooper, Gallup, Lamb, all these guys, I think it'll spread this secondary too thin, and I think they'll have their way. But it's all up to this offensive line and if they're able to block Chandler Jones and blitzing Budda Baker, because they love to blitz that man out there. If we can handle that, I think this Cowboys offense and these receivers can have a day.
Stay away from Budda Baker. That's the game plan, but he likes to play in the box. He can obviously hurt you, obviously sitting back there in the secondary, being that safety for those guys. Byron Murphy, another guy from UW, my hometown, he plays really well. He likes to get up in your face at the line of scrimmage. He also likes to have a big part and a big role in stopping the running game. So those are two guys that you have to be aware of, but outside of that, like you said, Barry, we have too many guys that they don't have enough weapons to stop them.
Yeah, and last week, the Cowboys with 4 players over 50 yards in the first half against Washington. That's the first time in Cowboys organizational history that has ever been achieved. And it was a sharing of the wealth against Washington in Week 17. They'll try and continue that against a much improved secondary from the Arizona Cardinals. But let's take a look and listen to Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on some of the challenges ahead for them and what they expect to see from the Arizona defense.
Yeah, I definitely saw the ball more than I've been seeing it. But it's all just me wanting to help the team. You know, I know how special of a team that we have, and I know how special of a moment this is. And I've been in the league long enough to know how fleeting it is as well. And so I think, I know that was just me wanting to make sure that, we take full advantage of this moment. And I know I feel like I'm a huge part of that. And I don't want it to just come and go without us reaching our full potential. So, that's why I felt the urge and the need to ask for the ball more.
Did you express that to the coaches and as well? You talked to Kellen Moore, your receiver coach, about that?
I have, but I wasn't, just blunt with it because I've never done that before. Like I said, I've never been on a team like this. And I've been in the league. This is my 7th year, so I know how rare it is, and that's why I really felt the need to say that. Because, like I just said, I don't want it to come and go without us reaching our full potential. So,
CeeDee, does anything from last year's game stand out to you guys? Just losing the way you did at home, that brings any kind of element to this week's game?
Not necessarily. Obviously, we don't like to lose. Didn't like the result. Nor did we like how the season was going with losing everyone. But I feel like this year, having another opportunity, we can get another crack at it. So excited for this opportunity. I can't wait.
Have you and Kyler had that conversation? Has he held any kind of bragging rights over you for the last year?
Of course he did. He held it for a year. So, we didn't really talk about it, but it's kind of really understood. He knows that we're going to see him again soon. So.
CeeDee, nothing against the teams that you played up to this point, but this is obviously a different challenge than what some of your recent opponents are. How much are you looking forward to playing, a playoff caliber team like Arizona?
I'm very excited. Get to see who we are, get to define ourselves, and I feel like this is a defining game and a defining moment. I'm excited for Sunday. I can't wait to see how we perform.
CeeDee Lamb leading the Dallas Cowboys with 74 receptions and over 1,000 yards here in his 2nd season in the NFL. Back here with Britt Johnson. And Britt, you got a chance to catch up with La'el Collins earlier in the week, who's regained that starting spot at the right tackle position. But that's not all he's been up to lately.
Yes, I actually got to find out what he's been doing off the field, which includes signing a new artist that he released this week. Check out this episode of 0 to 100. Hey, what's up, y'all? Britt Johnson here with La'el Collins, and it is time to go 0 to 100, presented by Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All righty. First question, if you were a pro wrestler, what would your wrestling name be?
Wrestling name would probably be the Hulk.
The Hulk? That's a good one, right? Yeah. Or would you be green too? Would you wear like a green outfit?
Might be, that might be.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
Red. We'll do a red outfit. All right. Who would win a fight between Spider-Man and Batman?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Have you seen the new movie?
No, I haven't.
Me neither. What does your ideal off day look like?
Ooh, just chilling on the boat, on the lake.
Do you fish and stuff?
Yeah, I fish a lot.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool. If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Probably fried chicken, just because, you know, if I'm eating it for the rest of my life, that means I ain't playing football, so probably fried chicken.
Yeah, I thought you almost were gonna say fish since you fish a lot.
Yeah,
Who is your celebrity crush?
probably Ashanti.
Ah,
What's up, Ashanti?
she's a good one.
Yeah.
Shanti, I'll hook you up.
Long time.
What is your hidden talent?
My hidden talent is probably,
Stumped him.
probably my ability to evaluate talent.
Okay, I'll take it. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Probably be the world's strongest man.
That would definitely help on the football field as well. Perfect. If you were deserted on an island, food and water is provided for you, what other 2 items would you take with you?
I'd probably take my kids.
Okay. And best gift you have ever been given?
Probably my kids.
Good one,
Definitely.
good one. And last but not least, who is the NBA GOAT?
I'm gonna have to go with, you gotta say Michael Jordan.
Thank you. You and Zeke said the same thing. That's why you guys are so in sync on this offense. But we have one final question from a deserving fan if you want to take a look at that.
What up, Lyle? It's DJ Bubba. I've been the biggest Dallas Cowboy fan since I was brought into this world. But you know, I'm a DJ, man. Born straight out of Fort Worth, Texas. I gotta ask you, what music do you listen to before a game? What's gonna get you pumped up? Because this is something I just gotta know, man.
You know, I listen to my artist, TG Major. That's who I listen to.
Shameless plug right here.
You know, that's my artist. That's who I listen to, and you know, just be on the lookout for him.
Is it rap music or R&B music?
A little bit of both. He can sing and he can rap.
Nice. Well, you guys got to make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for tuning into 0 to 100, presented by Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. I'm Britt Johnson, Lyle Collins. See y'all next time.
Special thanks to our friends over at Dr. Pepper and, of course, to Britt and Lyle as well. Lyle Collins starting at right tackle, or expected to start at right tackle, meaning that entire offensive line back and ready to go for the first time this season. We take a couple looks out at AT&T Stadium behind us. And, of course, they're going to be paving the way for a run game that has started to build their confidence the last couple of weeks. Has your confidence level risen in the run game from guys like Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, who have started finding their footing?
Yeah, I think they're getting healthier as this season goes on. I think they're starting to, build off of each other, strengths and weaknesses. You see Zeke out there kind of being that 3 yards in the cloud of dust, kind of beating up the defense, and Pollard still bringing that juice each and every down. So I'm confident in going forward with this offense, especially with this run game.
I am as well. I believe that they're being effective. Over the last 4 games, they're averaging 125 yards as a team between the duo. But I would like to see these guys be dominant because with this offensive line now that they're intact, with this two-headed monster in the backfield, this team is capable of being dominant. I would like to see that because if you can have that going into the playoffs, that changes your outlook of your team.
I agree with you 100%. If we got all these 5 guys up front doing their job and taking care of business, the backs are going to be okay.
They had 108 yards on the ground last week against Washington. They didn't really need the rushing attack last week. Zeke with just 9 carries for 37 yards. He did have a receiving and a rushing touchdown, but you expect more of the same, maybe limiting Zeke's snaps as we get into the final couple weeks of the regular season, just to have him ready for that playoff push.
No, I don't think they will, and I don't think Zeke would let them do that. They're still battling for playoff seed. They still got an opportunity to go out there and get the number 1 seed and get playoffs at her home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. So you're going to need all hands on deck, and right now Zeke is playing, and Tony Pollard is playing good as well. So got to have both of those guys on the field.
That'll be a negative, Ghost Rider.
Okay. All right, Ghost Rider.
They missed their opportunity. They had an opportunity going into the bye week to rest him, and they could have got 17 days off for Zeke to get his health back. They opted not to do that, so now you're in a position where you need him to continue to play. You need him to continue to build his confidence up heading into the playoffs.
I agree 100%. You got to ride now. You got a chance at the number one seed, as Barry said. Let's go get it. I mean, if Green Bay slip, then hey, let's put our foot on these guys' throat and do what we have to do.
Big game today, and I think the running game is going to play a huge part in the success against that Arizona defense that we outlined a little bit earlier. Tempo could also play a factor, and that's exactly what Ezekiel Elliott talked about earlier in the week.
I say number one thing for me, protect the football. Last year, I fumbled it twice versus him, so that's my number one priority going into the game. Make sure I protect the football. That football is everything. When you got that football in your hands, the whole team is counting on you. So number one for me is protect the football. But their defense, it's a very good matchup for us. You look at their D-line; they're very active. They play very hard. They're very explosive, and I think you can say that for the whole defense. So I think it's a good challenge for us.
Zeke, we've talked to y'all a lot about the offensive rhythm. In this past game, where do you feel like you guys as an offense took the biggest step?
I would say I think we took the biggest step just scoring touchdowns. We scored a lot of touchdowns last week. And I think the number one thing that helped us is getting on the ball. I think when we get on the ball, we're able to get into a rhythm. When we get on the ball, they can't substitute. When we get on the ball, we're wearing them down. It simplifies the football game so much more. And so, I think that'll be big this week with versus the Cardinals because, they present a lot of different looks, a lot of looks we haven't seen this season. And I think just getting on the ball and playing tempo will kind of force them to vanilla it out a little bit.
So there you hear from Ezekiel Elliott, who despite career lows in multiple categories is still top 7 in the NFL in terms of carries, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. That's certainly something exciting to know that he's kind of getting back on track as the regular season comes to a close. Now, before we come to a close here on Cowboys Pregame Live, let's go back out to AT&T Stadium and hear from Nick Eatman, who is now with Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Kyle. And we are joined by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And usually I wait till the end to ask you this, but so far I'll say Happy New Year. And how's the football season going for you so far?
Well, it's been outstanding. What a great, team the guys have put together in terms of how we're playing up to this point. But feel so good about it. Happy New Year to all our fans out here. But this is. We put what we've done up to this point in the rearview mirror. Right now, we've got to play our best football. We've got to peak at the right time. And certainly, I think we're starting to play some of our best ball, but we can certainly improve upon what we've done to this point and need to play well.
We've talked about road games, division games, and how tough they can be. But from a talent standpoint, this seems like the best team that the Cowboys have faced. Even though they've struggled, this is a playoff team. So do you view this as a game it's a kind of a benchmark game to see how your team is playing?
Well, absolutely. These guys have played good all year. For the most part, they've held the best record in the NFL moniker, if you will. But, just like us, we went through a time where we struggled. They're going through some of that. They're missing, obviously one of the best receivers in the game in Hopkins. But as they know and we know, you got to work through those things. But this is a really good football team, and certainly the quarterback is one of the best in the business. He's something else now. He's electric. He'll give us every challenge we want to have today, from scrambling around and running it to scrambling around and throwing it to he's just got a very live arm and can make all the throws. So it's certainly going to be a big challenge. And on defense, I think they're the only team in the league that's top 10 in offense and defense. So their defense will give us a big challenge today. They've got a really fast unit that plays fast, and this will be a good measurement for us as we head down the home stretch here.
The guys in the studio asked me a little bit earlier about how important it is to get Amari Cooper going. You got him going last week. You feel like that when he is really at his best and the offense is going through him, that it opens up for other players as well?
Absolutely. Once he gets going, then I think the other team's aware of him. And whether that's one guy covering him or several guys covering him, I think it does open up for some of the other guys some great opportunities there. And, if we can get him rolling early, certainly playing at home in a dome, on a fast turf. Amari likes that. So hopefully we will get him going early, and hopefully he'll have a big day.
You mentioned Kyler Murray. He was a great high school quarterback. He's a great NFL quarterback as well. High school quarterback here. Probably not your favorite high school quarterback of all time. You got a chance to see your son yesterday. How was that?
Well, winning percentage-wise, they're the same. I think Kyler won another season full of playoff games that John Stephen didn't, but they're both undefeated, which is good stuff. But no, Kyler's done nothing but win everywhere he goes. I mean, he is probably the greatest high school football player to ever put on a uniform. His record speaks for itself at one of the toughest positions to play in football. And then he took it to Oklahoma and played at a high level, won a Heisman, and then certainly doing it here in the NFL as well. He's just a special athlete, special competitor. He's a special young man.
How was that trip to Florida yesterday?
It was outstanding. The Hogs pulled one off, and great year for the Hogs. Congratulations to Coach Pittman and the Razorbacks. Great year.
I will definitely echo that as well. All right.
It's good to get Micah's lines too, so I have to remind him of that today.
Wait, are you going to piss him off though? Because when he's pissed off, he plays better.
That's what I think I'd like to do, is get him good and mad. Get the lion eaten today. Get the lion eaten today.
There you go. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We'll throw it back to Kyle in the studio.
My man Nate gets a little run at him. Anytime Nate puts that 330 pounds on you, you're going to go backwards. I mean, just get behind Nate. I mean, he just blots out half the field.
Yeah.
You know, what you could do is you could have a barbecue on that head.
Nate's got a lot of room to let it out.
Yeah. I mean, you could cook like some burgers on there. That's Big Nate right there. Boy, Nate just took his guy and just boom, just put him right on the ground. They go, Nate. You see Nate Newton? Here's Big Nate right here. And then the minute it's over, you got to pull the pants up. You always block, and then you pull up your pants.
Little Nate Newton action there from John Madden. And, of course, we want to pay our respects to John Madden and what he had as an impact to not only the NFL, not only to Nate Newton, but really all football fans throughout his 85 years on this earth. He passed away last Tuesday, and it really is a sad week for the NFL and the league that, I mean, you can look around the league. There really weren't a whole lot that had more of an impact on everyone, Nate, that John Madden had.
No matter what channel he was on, what station, what network he worked for, the people he touched through the game was magnificent. And we want to thank Coach Madden. I want to thank his wife and his kids and his grandkids and all his family for sharing John Madden with the whole world. I thank you very much.
And Nate Newton was one of those all-Madden players. I mean, he talked about you so highly throughout your career. How much of an impact did he have on you?
He made me Nate. That's why I'm up here with the skill position guys. He made me Nate. He made it all right for the fat guys to be able to talk, have fun, and that's what I try to bring. That's my part of Madden. Always trying to have fun and have my Sundays. He said, remember your Sundays, and that have something to do every Sunday. And that's what I live for.
That's exactly what you do week in and week out here, and we're certainly glad you're a part of it as well. John Madden passing away at the age of 85. Legendary coach, legendary innovator, and broadcaster. I mean, he touched a ton of football fans, millions of football fans across the world. But it wasn't the only legend that we had to say goodbye to earlier this week, as well as legendary former Cowboys player and coach Dan Reeves passed away at the age of 77. Reeves, a Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl VI with the Dallas Cowboys, came back as an assistant later in his lifetime, and he was with the Cowboys as a player from 65 to 72. And then as a coach, he was two-time AP Coach of the Year, not with the Cowboys, but with a couple other organizations throughout his career and throughout his lifetime. He also had quite the impact on the NFL as well. So both Dan Reeves and John Madden passing away this week as the NFL mourns the loss of two legendary individuals throughout their time on this earth. And let's continue on by doing what they would want us to do, and let's continue to preview not only the Cowboys and the Cardinals, but some of the impact going on around the NFL at the moment. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the New York Jets. We talked about it at the top of the show in the standings update. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are down 24-20 to the Jets in Week 17, and a loss there would keep the Cowboys at the number 2 spot in the NFC, and then the Los Angeles Rams leading 21-19 at the moment in their matchup. So they would be the 3 seed if Tampa Bay were to drop. But let's talk about Cowboys and the Cardinals. continuing to get warmed up behind us. But let's talk about the keys to the game. What's yours, Barry?
Defensively, D-Law, Randy Gregory, Parsons, whoever's part of that defensive line, keep this guy in the pocket. Don't let him work his magic out there, extending plays and getting guys open and all that jazz. Forget all that. Set the edges, keep this guy in the pocket, make him beat him with your arm.
Mine's is keep Dak under 35 throws.
Oh, wow, that was very quick.
And I'm a guy.
Go that quick.
He had to go that quick. You threw me off, but guess what?
Record time right there, man.
As long as the line hold up, he'll have those 35 throws or less.
So the line holding up at 35 throws or less. Why do you think it's that important to keep him under that pitch count?
Because you start thinking about it, when Dak gets over 35, 40 passes per game, that's when this team is really struggling. And we really don't need that many opportunities, that much stress on him, and we don't need him bearing the weight of this team. Allow the run game to get going, allow him to get this play action, and then let's hurry up and get him off the field.
They had over 40 pass attempts last week in the win against Washington.
Yeah, they were just trying to drag those guys. That was across.
Beat down. Yeah,
they were stomping them out.
It was a little bit of a different scenario, I think, for the Dak Prescott side of things last week. But that's going to do it here for us on Cowboys Pregame Live. Thanks for joining us here over the last hour. The Cowboys and the Cardinals. It's the 90th all-time meeting, 46th in the DFW area. 3:25 kickoff on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews on the call. It's the Cowboys and the Cardinals. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the game, everybody.